Hello, everyone, and welcome to Reading Crossbow. My name is Lena, and I am just one of your hosts on the show. There's another host, his name is Rob, and we read 2 books a month. He picks one, I pick one, and then we often do solo episodes. So today is my solo episode, and you'll see us picking up episodes when we read our books together, and sometimes you'll get Rob's solo episodes. Like, for example, check out a recent comic book episode that he did. But today we're talking about predictions for Onyx Storm, which is the 3rd book in Rebecca Yarros' Empyrean series. And there are a lot of fan predictions out there, so I scoured the internet, Screen Rant, Fantasy Podcast Girls, tons of TikTok videos to find everybody's predictions for Onyx Storm. And this is what I came up with for the top predictions for what we're going to see in Onyx Storm, which releases January 21st, plus my own personal predictions. And well, you know what? Let's just get to it. So the first thing we need to talk about is actually the cover of the book. This has been discussed at length. I personally like Screen Rant's discussion on it, but the cool thing about the book series is we get the gold from the first one, 4th Wing, we go straight into Iron Flame with the flame cover. And then the next book, Onyx Storm, has this gray, silvery color. It says, Brave the Dark. So a couple theories about this, but the big ones are that the dark is Xaden. And I should say, definitely can't stay free from spoilers on this. So if you came here to look for spoiler free, I'm not sure why, because we say predictions, so we have to talk about the last book. But yes, Brave the Dark. The new cover has some light on one edge of the symbol here, and then mostly dark on the other with some silver smoky stuff coming up the bottom. So I think this is Xaden. I think the light on the cover refers to Violet and how they're gonna battle that darkness together. When we left off in Iron Flame, Xaden is thought to maybe be infected, or he's going to become a Venom because he has the red circles around his eyes. So is Xaden going more dark mode than normal? I think yes. Is Violet going to have to pull him from that darkness? I think yes. So I think we're going to have a big tug and pull between Violet and Xaden's relationship and him going down the Venom dark path. I don't know, but that's just the cover of the book. So next, let's go into the most talked about prediction for book 3, which is what Violet's second signet is. So there's a lot of discussion on what her second signet is. And if you watch all the videos, you kind of like being in an echo chamber. They all say the same thing. So I'm going to echo chamber them for just like 10 seconds, and then I'm going to go into my theories. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. But the top theories are that she is a truth sayer. And then I have these written down, talking to the dead, which is super interesting. It has to do with Liam and Malik, the god of death. That she is an amplifier. So that's, talking to the dead, truth sayer, amplifier, and that she's a dream walker. So my theory on this, actually, we're going to touch on this throughout the episode, is that it's somewhat to do with dream walking. I feel like she doesn't so much talk to the dead and doesn't so much dream walk. I have a feeling she can kind of enter this extra plane, and I don't know what to call that, whether it's an astral plane or whatnot. But my theory on this is that because she had Liam appear to her, granted, could have been a hallucination, she was definitely being tortured, but I think it's more that her brain, or spiritually, or on some emotional level, or whatever it is, can almost project herself into this other sort of realm reality. And in this mental state, which she can take herself, that's when she can maybe talk to the dead, perhaps speak with Malik, or why Malik reaches out to her. I also think that she is somewhat physical in this state, so she can interact in this state. And this is seen by the fact that the General Venom actually touches her in one of these dream states, in this dream that she has. But I think it's more than a dream, and I think it's more than talking to the dead. I think it's actually that she can project her physical being into this particular astral plane, or whatever we want to call it. So that is my theory. Let me know if you think I'm totally crazy, but this is where I think it's gonna go. I think we're gonna get into this in Romantasy, but I think she's gonna kind of sort of like sexy meet up with Xaden on this plane too. Put a pin in that. we're getting to that in the romance section of predictions. All right, we all love talking about romance, but before we get there, we have to talk about family issues, okay? Every family's got their issues, and Xaden's family and Violet's family certainly have theirs. So we'll talk about predictions with that. But I think the biggest prediction I have is that we're definitely going to start off with a funeral for Violet's mother, and I don't think that this is going to be a funeral where everything is going to go okay. I think tempers are going to flare. I actually feel like because of potentially Violet's second signet, she might actually even get to reach out to her dead mother. I don't know how. I think Rebecca Yarro said in one of her interviews that we find out about Violet's second signet in the latter half of the book, and I predict the funerals in the first part of the books. So this might be that it happens and that she figures out why she was able to do it in the latter half of the book. I don't know, just speculating, but we're going to get a lot of drama, I think, with Violet's mom and the balance of power and what ensues and how personalities conflict when this happens. So I don't even know how a funeral happens really, because they have to burn everything with her so her soul can go to Malik. But in however this happens, there's going to be drama. Next up for Violet's family would be Violet's dad, because he was keeping the secret of the venin, or trying to find out a cure for the venin. And so I think more of his studies are going to show up in Onyx Storm, and we're going to learn a whole lot more about what mystery he found or what he was trying to solve. And this task is going to pass on to Violet. Next up, we have Violet's sister, who mysteriously kind of went missing in the last book, and we can't really account for her missing presence. And how is she going to manifest in this third book, and what is she going to bring to all of this? But definitely curious about Mira. Brennan, Violet's brother, we're going to save for later in the episode because I want to talk about Brennan and romance. More family drama. We move on to Xaden, which basically he became the heir apparent of Orisha, or whatever's going to happen with that. You know, he has a throne room. He sits on the throne in the last book. Is he going to rule? Is he going to become king? What's going on here? I'm super excited to see that dynamic pool, especially because if he is going to be king of that kingdom or inherit it somehow, and he might be Venin, does this mean Venin get to rule over that area? I don't know. Big question mark. Also, Xaden's mother has been largely talked about in predictions, and that she is going to come into play in the third book. And does she already rule a kingdom? Is she in the Isles? What sort of connection does he have to his mother? And will there be a power struggle there? You know what? It's time to get into romance. Some of our favorite parts about the Fourth Wing Empyrean series is the romance, right? We just love our romantasy. So here's what I think we're going to see in book 3. So as I said, at the end of Iron Flame, we were left off with this big cliffhanger where Xaden is supposedly Venin. He has the red ring around his eyes. Is he going Dark Boy mode? Even Dark Boy than he already is, since he's Mr. Shadow Daddy. But I think we're going to see some definite trouble with him and Violet's relationship. I mean, we're going to have the rescue situation where she tries to change him, right? Cure him. We're going to see him go into big dark mode, I think. What does this mean for their relationship, though? So this is largely speculated about, as well as the theories are that he cannot touch her, right? He will draw from her power. He will drain her. So for book 3, we're imagining that he won't be able to touch her at all. Yet, as we know, their relationship, their sexual tension is absurd. So how are they going to navigate that? This is where my first theory about what her second signet is comes into play, because I think, especially since they can communicate in their minds so telepathically, and since they do have this connection in that mental state, that Violet is going to have a way where they can, get close together in this sort of astral plane sort of second signet that she has. Again, this is a lot of extrapolation. I could totally be wrong, but I think we're going to see this sort of like mental picture of them getting it on as opposed to in the physical world. Because Xaden's not going to do anything to hurt her. But he's going to want to touch her. So I don't know. Big question mark. I actually hope that part comes true because it'll be interesting to see how Rebecca Yarros writes something like that. Next up is Brennan, who I didn't talk about in the family drama because I was saving this. Now, I think there's a ton of family drama with Brennan that will happen. I mean, is he going to lead? Is he going to step into some leading position at the college? I don't know. His mother's gone. Is he going to step into her place? Let's leave all that aside. I think that's too risky to evaluate right now. But something that's interesting is we got a lot of indication that Brennan was involved with Nealin, which was Taryn's previous writer. So the books led us to believe that Nealin is dead, but I'm just, the way Rebecca Yarros is writing, the way she brings people back, are they dead? Are they not? Are they really? I mean, we don't know. So Brennan was supposed to be dead. He wasn't. Violet's father is supposed to be dead. I think he is, but is he? I don't know. So I actually wouldn't be that surprised if Nealin isn't dead, or if he somehow comes back through Violet and he can talk to Brennan on this sort of astral plane. I don't know. But we have a lot of questions either way that I feel are going to get answered between Brennan and Nealin, particularly regarding Taryn. Because one of the big predictions also, or theories, is that if Nealin isn't dead, what does this mean for Violet? Because a dragon cannot have two riders. So if Nealin actually isn't dead and is perhaps Venin, and maybe Taryn lost the connection because he's Venin, we're not sure, then does that mean Taryn and Violet's connection is threatened because Nealin still lives? Who knows? This is crazy to me. This is one of the craziest ones I've read about online. I hope Nealin is not still alive. I really feel like that's just a reach for Rebecca Yarros. I really don't like when, one person is thought to be dead and comes back like Brennan, and we definitely shouldn't have two in this situation. Like, I thought you were dead. Oh, you're still alive. Yeah, I don't need that twice. Next up in fan theories, so this one isn't mine, is that Eric, son of the king, is going to try to have something going on with Violet. Now, this is thought of because Violet and Xaden are not going to be able to touch physically. They'll be separated. He's going to have to deal with his heir apparent issues, plus the whole perhaps Venom thing, and just won't be near her. And Eric's going to be near her. And is he going to try to get in on that because Xaden's out of the way? So I actually am not so sure about this one. There's also theories that him and Sloane are going to be paired up in the third book, but that's not my favorite love story anyway. I actually am so in love with the love story of Jesinia and Sawyer. So Jesinia is the scribe who is Violet's friend, and Sawyer actually learned sign language from Violet to get closer to Jesinia. So this is the crush that we've all seen building up that has not been answered yet. And they have to get to this in book 3. I can't wait any longer on this slow burn. But this does bring up a big question. If Jesinia and Sawyer can finally find each other in book 3, does this mean that there's some major issues going on with the library, though? Because if Jesinia and him can see each other more, then that would basically mean that something's happened where that is compromised. And so that also is interesting because they are trying to get knowledge on the Venom, which was previously hidden before. So I think a lot's going to happen with the scribes and their knowledge source with the archives, and what part Sawyer's going to play in that. Because I do think Jesinia and Sawyer are just going to book 3. All right, the next prediction or theory is actually about Violet herself and how she became to be with her illness and why her hair is the way it is. Now we know that Violet's mother had a fever and was sick while pregnant, and she says that that's why Violet is the way that she is. But actually, some of the fan theories that are going around was that maybe her father was Venom, and maybe Violet was conceived while he was Venom and perhaps didn't know it. And then her mother was carrying a half Venom, half not child. And then the father tried to cure Violet's mother while she was pregnant. I don't know. Or some version of this where one of them is Venom. There's theories all over the place. Her mother was Venom. Her dad was Venom. She's partially Venom. This affected the pregnancy. Who knows? But I think we will get that answered in book 3, especially as Violet, we think, is going to try to find a cure for proposed Xaden being venom now. Okay, 2 left. So last big one is the Empyrean. Will the dragons separate? Will they fall? Now, because they are in the valley by the War College, they are what are holding the wards up. The wards draw their magic from the dragons being there. They have to be there in order for this to happen. So, but there's definitely division among the dragons, and they are at sort of war with each other, and this is just starting to fall apart. So I think this is supposed to be like a 5-book series. So I'm not sure if this will happen in book 3, but the lines have been drawn. Just will it fall apart yet? So I definitely see some war between the dragons happening. Probably book 4 would be my guess, but I think we see a big buildup for that in book 3. And this is what really, I mean, I know they just built up the wards back in book 2, but they will probably fall again. And it will be because the dragons are divided and start taking sides among the humans and the venom. And the last one. Now, this is my least favorite to talk about, but it has to happen because, hello, this is Fourth Wing, when half the children die in the first book, right? So people die in this series. Someone needs to die in book 3. Maybe more than someone. Maybe lots of people need to die in book 3. But definitely someone close to us is going to perish. I cannot see it happening. So the question is, who? Who is going to leave us? So keep in mind, my heart was broken with Liam. Like, I actually shed real life tears over this book. And I don't know that I'm emotionally prepared to do it again. But I know it's going to happen. So let's talk about who. I think the death is going to fall on one of 4 characters. Riddick, Rhiannon, Dane, or Sawyer. Here's the problem. Is it has to be a character that we're close to. Because the writer, I think Rebecca Yarros, really wants us to have those fills. So the problem with Riddick, for me, is a personal one, which I think this is Rob's favorite character, or one of Rob's favorite characters. If Riddick dies, I'm actually concerned what this does to Rob, my co-host. Will he be able to go on? We don't know. We'll have to ask him. But yes, Riddick can't go. I don't care about his character in the book. I care about what this will do to Rob. Rhiannon. So Rhiannon is basically Violet's best friend in this story. She's really starting to come into her power. We didn't go over this earlier, but there's some talk that maybe Violet's second signet could be amplification, because that's how Rhiannon's able to draw the dagger through the wall, as she was close to Violet. And so she was able to pull it. There's all sorts of reasons why people think it could be amplification. You can search that out, find it. But they're growing closer and closer, and I love Rhiannon. So she would be sad to see go for sure. I also think that she's going to be crucial to their plans and her ability to retrieve. So if something happens to her, I don't know. I'm nervous about what it will do to Violet, but I actually don't think she's that integral in the story. So, I mean, perhaps we could lose her, but we'll see. I think I'd be the least upset if it was her. So next up, Dane. So Dane has a lot to prove to everyone, and will he betray his father? So this is the big question for Dane for the 3rd book. Can we lose Dane? Is he that important to the story? Lately, I feel like in the last book, he sort of fell off of the story, right? Like Violet doesn't care for him as much anymore, but is that going to change also in the 3rd book, especially as she potentially pulls away from Xaden as he goes into Super Xaden Dark mode? I don't know, but Dane, I don't know. I'm hit or miss with Dane. I feel like he could make a big comeback in book 3. So is Rebecca Yarros going to off him? I don't know. But now the last one, Sawyer. I will cry. I will cry big crocodile tears if it's Sawyer. I cannot handle this. I am pleading out into the world right now, even though I know the book is already written and my mental thoughts cannot change the words on the page. But I'm so nervous it's going to be Sawyer, because Sawyer feels like another Liam moment. So I feel like Jacinia is finally going to get with Sawyer, and they're going to have the moment where they can be together, and then he's going to get taken from us. So we know Jacinia lives, because she's the scribe who's transcribing these journals. So the little excerpts that we have at the beginning of the book from Violet's journal, these are transcribed from Jacinia. So we know that, like, in the future, you know, she's transcribing like this story that we're reading. So it can't be her, which is why I'm very nervous that it's going to be Sawyer. All right, so those are the big fan theories. predictions. Am I right on my prediction about Violet's second signet? I don't know. Mine's probably wacky. Is the rest of this going to happen? Are we finally going to find out what happened with Violet's father? Are family issues and dramas going to go crazy, especially with Xaden's mother and then the fallout after Violet's mother dies? What is going to happen with the power struggle between Xaden inheriting and being heir apparent, and also with Brennan stepping in after his mother's loss? And again, with Dane, with the betrayal from his father. So I'm not so sure. Lots of power struggle in the next book, lots of crazy theories about love, and what the hell is Violet's signet going to be? We don't know. Tune in. I'm definitely going to cover Onyx Storm when it comes out. I pre-ordered the book. It's going to show up on my doorstep. I plan on closing all the blinds in my house, locking myself in my room, putting on a cozy blanket, reading this in 24 hours, and coming back to you all with a video. I'm going to be obsessed. So make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on that, and join us for our next episode. Thanks everyone, and talk to you soon.